Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about a very strange leak that has just come out about PlayStation. Now pretty much every major source from Digital Foundry to Sneaker SO to Jason Schreier himself is apparently claiming Sony is pulling out of the PC business, meaning the fact that for the last couple of years there's been a very interesting experiment going on over at PlayStation where they've been putting PlayStation first-party games onto Steam. And not just multiplayer stuff, we're talking about God of War, Returnal, Spider-Man. These games have been coming to PC. And not only that, Sony bought an entire PC porting house, Nexus, to help make these incredible versions of these games. These are extremely good ports that clearly cost them a lot of money to make. They have widescreen support, 200 frames a second, crazy graphics customization. But apparently, according to these leaks, they've changed their mind. They do not want games on PC at all. Unless it's like a live service game, they're just saying, no thanks, the experiment has failed. Now let's talk about this, because in a way, I think this makes more sense than we originally assumed. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, we're going to go through all the sources that are discussing that, but I think that just on the surface level, this kind of makes sense. You know, we've seen recent financials from Sony where they've essentially said that a lot of their games on PC are selling hundreds of thousands of copies. But to them, that's clearly just not enough. Just in general, the fact that PlayStation very much from the very start said the whole point of this PC experiment was to get you to buy a PlayStation 5. The whole idea was, all right, we'll put Spider-Man on there, and now you want to buy a PS5 so you can get Spider-Man 2. Here's God of War, now you want to buy it to get God of War Ragnarok. But it seems like that just didn't really work. PC gamers were buying the games, they're loving the games, they're cheerleading the games, they're modding the games, but at the same time, they already have a really powerful PC. They're not going to buy a $600, $700 PlayStation 5 Pro, right? They don't have that same like fire inside them because in a way they think, well, the games will come eventually. And it sounds like, according to new leadership, they're now ready to pull back towards this PC push, particularly when it comes to first-player, single-player titles. I guess maybe it was just too expensive, or maybe in a way they weren't seeing that feedback that maybe they actually desired. Like, think about how they handle exclusives. Sony does not release a lot of PlayStation exclusives, especially in the last couple of years. When we do, they're incredibly good, like Ghost of Yotei or Astro Bot, but even when that game sells something like, let's say 5, 6, 7 million copies, right? Let's say 7 million copies of Ghost of Yotei have sold. That to them is incredibly valuable because how many of that is new players? How many of that is people that bought a PlayStation 5 to play that experience and now they're locked into the ecosystem? Meaning that, hey, every future game, we're going to get a cut. First party or third party. Every game you buy is now through us. Whereas if you're playing it on Steam, yeah, we're happy we got $70 out of you, but Valve got a cut, and now Valve's going to keep getting a cut. We want to make sure that you're contained in the PlayStation ecosystem. But the one exception to that, of course, is live service. Sony is very dead set on this idea of trying to make their own version of Fortnite. Just everybody wants some sort of live service. So games like Marathon, I am actually going to be playing the Marathon beta, starts here in 30 minutes. I'm going to be doing a video about the Marathon beta this afternoon. But stuff like Marathon, that new Horizon Zero Dawn, like weird game, that like multiplayer stuff is still going to be on PC. And maybe some of that will even trickle over to Xbox. But clearly the main focus is, even if like there's little partnerships, some of the stuff may still be on third party, but anything that's made by Sony Studios like Sony Santa Monica, it now is only going to be exclusive. And I think this kind of makes sense because I think it's just hard to deny the fact that PlayStation is now the default console. And honestly, I think Sony appreciates the fact that they just don't have to do that much work. Their system has sold so much that if you want a next-gen console with the best optimized games, they're all on PlayStation, or in this case, PlayStation 5 Pro. Like right now, I do have a review going up tomorrow for Resident Evil Requiem. I have been playing it, but there's weird embargo stuff. This version of the game is insane. It's photorealistic. I mean, the graphics literally practically defy the imagination. It just looks so good. And it's weird to think that it looks best on PlayStation 5 Pro. This is not because of Sony tools or Sony developers. It's that they're getting a return on investment. Developers know, okay, if we put in an extra $5 million, $10 million of development cost to make it look extra incredible on PlayStation 5, that's where most players will sell hundreds of thousands, if not millions of extra copies. So Sony is in this weird spot when they think, okay, Is it really worth trying to meet people on their side? Is it really worth trying to actually spend all this extra money porting, all this extra development time to put a external port out there on PC or even Xbox or Nintendo Switch, when really at this point, we might as well go back to the closed garden approach. With the PlayStation 4, a lot of people kind of forget this now, but Sony was obsessively closed ecosystem. They didn't even want you to be able to play with people on other platforms, which meant that for literally the first couple of years that Fortnite existed, you could only play with literally, like Nintendo Switch people could play with Xbox people, could play with PC people. PlayStation 4 was in its own separate bubble. And in a way that very much worked. It took them years to start to let those walls down. And I kind of think they're about to bring those walls back up. But I want to talk about this Jason Schreier clip because over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, people think that there's an extra bit to this. Jason Schreier says, pulling away from single-player PC ports, it's not speculation, but sometimes topics come up on the show, and I'm quite ready to publish a story about them. More to come soon. So basically, it sounds like he's already writing it, but Jason Schreier is very obsessive in his wording. He's very meticulous about framing like business mergers and motivations. He doesn't want to just, tweet it out. He'd rather make a clear, concise, here's the story and why you should care. So it sounds like he's still cooking that up. But people are pointing out the fact that this is probably part of another thing. You can see Sneeko SO also chimed in. Sneeko SO has done a lot of very good leaks about hardware stuff. And basically he's saying, yep, they're pulling back. And here I think completely nails the other part of the discussion that sort of changes how this was probably discussed when Sony first had the meetings about going to PC. PC was this separate ecosystem. PC is over here, console's over here. We have this console competition, we've got PC competition. But now, this next generation, the lines are starting to get blurred. There's talks that the next Xbox will in fact be able to play Steam games, which means that Sony is in a spot where maybe they're thinking, okay, it's not worth spending millions of dollars of our own money, our own investment, our own time, our limited developers. Putting those games onto PC means now we're putting them on Xbox, a direct competitor. And I still don't think the next Xbox is even coming out, but that's something they do have to account for, is that they can't lock it out. They can't say, hey, make this not work on Xbox. And those videos of people booting up Spider-Man 3 in 4K, super widescreen, crazy supports on an Xbox would look bad. I do think that would kind of make some people say, okay, why didn't I buy an Xbox then? And also, the Steam machine. I still think, some people are saying the Steam machine will be irrelevant to the console market. I still think, you see a lot of people hating on the Steam machine. People are hyping the Steam machine up too much. It's a needle mover for the niche communities. Look, ignore that person. I think the Steam machine is going to be an absolute interesting game changer. And again, the Steam machine plays every Steam game. And I think, again, having these big, crazy, expensive AAA single-player stories that sell PlayStations, and now you could see it somewhere else, I do think that tells a lot of people PlayStation doesn't matter. I think that the stories, playing these games, sitting on your couch and seeing these crazy awesome plot twists and cool cutscenes and really nice set pieces like old school Uncharted, that sells systems. And if they see that, but you're holding an Xbox controller or you're playing that Steam controller, I think that does tell people, okay, I can play those games eventually on other platforms. I'm fine waiting. And Sony's getting afraid of that. That's just my 2 cents, though. How do you feel about the idea of Sony pulling back from PC and going back to fully being exclusives on one platform? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And be sure to watch. Tomorrow, I'm going to have like 2 videos up. I'm going to be talking about Pokemon. I'm going to be talking about Resident Evil Requiem. And this afternoon, I'm going to do a video. I'm about to play the marathon beta for like 4 hours and do a video about that. So busy, busy, busy. It's a good thing I've got all this delicious monster. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.